Hey everyone, I just want to take a few moments tonight and share a couple thoughts with you that I hope would be an encouragement to you during this time in our lives. I know a lot has happened in the past week or two with this virus and all, working from home, and the kids don't have school anymore, so they're doing online school and getting that stuff turned in, and at the same time trying to do your work and getting used to everybody being home all day and in the same house all day. I know the struggle can be real there, and I know for parents specifically it can be very, very tough. And for the kids as well. My kids have been restless. I am thankful that the weather's been nice the past few days, so we've got to get outside and ride bikes, do the wagon, and look for bugs, and take family walks, and do things like that. It gets us out of the house, kind of refreshes us, get us some more energized there. And so it's been good. I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for the time that I've got to spend with my family. And it's caused me to slow down and examine my life and really say, okay, well, maybe I need to make some changes here moving forward. And so I think there's been some good stuff out of this. I know it's been some hardships and some struggles for a lot of us, but I do believe there's good in it. And I want to share some verses with you from Psalm 34 tonight. And I would encourage you during this time in our lives to read Psalms. Psalms is a great book of the Bible that offers encouragement. And David many times in Psalms writes that God lifted him up, his refuge, his strength, his strong tower, his shield, and many other ways that he describes how God helped him through his life. So I think it would greatly encourage you, as it has encouraged me in the past few days just reading some Psalms. But Psalm 34 tonight, I want to share with you 3 verses specifically tonight from Psalm 34. It says, "I sought the Lord, and he answered me, and he delivered me from all of my fears." There's been a lot of bad through this, and we're not sure how much longer this is going to last. Looks like now maybe even a couple months, which is crazy to think about. But the first part of that verse says, "I sought the Lord." And I was thinking about that and about how people today, they're seeking for answers. We all are, but the world specifically is looking to find out more about God, more about his word and what it says. And so there's been good out of this. And that's one of the things that I see some good coming out of this. If you've been on social media the past weekend, specifically on Sunday with churches streaming services or pastors doing devotions or shortened messages, the gospel is being presented and put out there more maybe than it ever has. And so it's good to see and good to hear that. But I want to challenge us tonight in this way. In verse 4, it says, "I sought the Lord, and he answered me, and he delivered me from all of my fears." In this time of our lives, hopefully we're seeking the Lord, because anything else is going to let us down. And maybe before this, maybe we weren't really seeking after him as much as maybe we should have been. But he says, "I sought the Lord." And I love the last part of the verse says, "He answered me, and he delivered me from all of my fears." So not only does God hear us, but he answers us. He answers our cries for help. He answers our prayers. Now, he may not always answer in the way we want, the time we want. His ways are definitely different than our ways. But we can take comfort in knowing that he hears us and he answers us and he delivers us. I think about this too. If you've been to the store, which many of you, most of you, maybe all of you have, that's watching this right now. I remember it was a couple of days after this broke. I went to the store and I got a few, I wasn't panicking. We were just buying some groceries. It was really our time to get groceries. We were running low anyway. And I walk into the grocery store and I'm looking down the aisles trying to figure out, what I need from that aisle. And I get to the paper section, and the whole section, you guys have seen pictures of this, you've experienced it. All the toilet paper's gone. All the paper towels are gone. All the napkins are gone. Like there is nothing on that whole row, that whole section. It's just wiped clean. And I'd heard that, a little bit through social media about people buying toilet paper and paper towels and all that. But when you see it, it's like, wow, why are people doing this? Well, people are panicking, right? People are panicking because they're not sure what tomorrow holds. And, God's going to get us through this. The verse says, he delivered me from all of my fears. God's not been surprised by this. God's not caught off guard. God is sovereign. He's the maker of heaven and earth. And I really believe that he's going to get us through this, that he's going to deliver us through this. And we just need to make sure that we're seeking after him, because nothing else is going to help. Nothing else is going to give us the peace of God unless we really seek after him. And then if you drop down to verse 8, it says, and this is a familiar verse. Many of you probably have heard this verse or are very familiar with it. It says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him." Hopefully we're taking our refuge in God right now. Hopefully we're placing our trust in him. And maybe before this, many of us were placing our trust, our refuge we were seeking in other areas of life through relationships, or we were placing our trust in jobs or our bank account. You name it. We all have something that maybe recently or in the past or even now that we're placing our trust in this. But let me encourage you tonight that the only way you're going to get peace, the only way you're going to get true refuge is to seek after the Lord and to rest in him. If you drop down to verse 17, the last verse I want to share with you, it says, "When the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and delivers them out of all of their troubles." When the righteous cry for help, God hears our cries. He hears them before we even speak them. He knows what we're thinking. He knows what we're feeling. He knows what we're going through. And we can take comfort in that, and knowing that he's a God that not only hears, but he cares, and he wants what's best for us. And the verse says, and he delivers them out of all of their troubles. So tonight, maybe you've had some sleepless nights. Maybe you have been afraid, anxious, worried for yourself, your family, friends, financial struggles, whatever it is. I hope you take comfort and knowing that if you seek after the Lord and place your trust in him, take refuge in him, because nothing else is going to satisfy you. Nothing else is going to give you the peace that you need, that you desire right now. And so hopefully tonight, through these verses, you've been encouraged, maybe even challenged to do some things differently. And so I hope you really consider these verses. We watched the news the other night. I can only take so much of it because it can be so overwhelming and it doesn't even really depend. It doesn't even matter what channel you watch. Some are worse than others, but if you watch it for very long, you just start to think, wow, like this is crazy. People are dying and people are sick and the count's up in your state and all this. And you start to worry and, thinking, am I going to have toilet paper in a couple of weeks? Is there going to be, food? And so if we're not careful, as we watch too much of that and read too much about it, we can lose our focus off the Lord and really start to think, oh man, what am I going to do? And we worry, become anxious. But let me remind you, in those moments, maybe you got to turn the TV off or close the app on your phone or whatever it is, but to go back to Psalms, these verses or any other, and realize, hey, God, help me to place my trust in you. Help me to seek refuge in you. Help me to know that you hear my cries and you care for me, and you're going to deliver us. You're going to get us through this. And thank you, God, for that.